Hey guys, it's Kat, and I am waiting for my rice to get done so I can eat dinner and then go where I'm supposed to go. So I thought that I would sit down and talk to you guys about something that has been on my mind. Now, I will preface this conversation by saying that I'm not on Twitter and I'm not really hyper focused on this issue, so I'm sure there's maybe some stuff that I missed, but I feel like what I have to say can be narrowed down pretty easily. So, I want to talk about JK Rowling and the new Harry Potter game that everyone seems to want to play so badly. Because for me, I think there's an interesting conversation to be had about allyship and what it actually looks like. Because there are a lot of people who have said that they're not going to support this game because of, JK Rowling's long history of transphobia. Oh, there's my rice. Then there are some people who say that they are not going to play this game. Then there are some people who say that they're going to play this game because, well, they really want to. And that doesn't mean that they're not a supporter of transgender people. Now, I'm going to say this. I'm not really necessarily a person who buys into the idea that you playing this game makes you a terrible transphobe, the worst transphobe that has ever existed, right? It's a fucking video game. I know people who are obsessed with Harry Potter, and I understand why they want to play this game. So I'm not going to necessarily attack you for doing so, but here's what I will say. I've been screaming into the void for over a decade, for most of my life, on YouTube about transgender issues. And the one thing that I have for sure come to understand is that society at large does not give a fuck about us. There are people who consider themselves on the left who would say that transgender issues, in quotations, are indeed a distraction, not important, not something to be focused on. Now, as someone who's been speaking about this as long as I have, I will say this. I have observed things get better in many ways, but I've observed them get really scary really quickly. First, we started talking about, well, we don't want kids to transition. And now you see legislation being passed in several states where they are trying to, not we, make it impossible for even adults to be transgender, right? And what I mean when I say that is they're trying to make it so that even adults don't have access to the care they need as transgender people. There are liberals and even some people who, for whatever reason, call themselves leftists, who will say that these concerns are no big deal. I'm making a big deal of nothing. There's nothing to worry about. But these laws have already passed in certain states. And what's frustrating to me is I can tell, especially from just watching stuff like this, that when things do indeed start getting really bad for transgender people, a lot of people are going to prefer being entertained over standing up for their transgender neighbors. So, play your Harry Potter game. Play your Harry Potter game. I'm not going to, again, pretend that playing your Harry Potter game makes you the worst person that has ever existed. But I will say it reinforces what I already understand about most people. That if bad things were to happen to me, if my life were to become more complicated because I'm transgender, you are going to be very slow to act. There are people acting like they are forced to play this game. There are people acting like being told that, hey, maybe you playing this game communicates clearly to me that you might not be the kind of person who would be on my side. There are people who are acting like those people are bullies, right? Again, I've paid attention. I've seen the writing on the wall. I talked about this in my video about the false Aretha Franklin shit. People are working very, 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 very hard to make it so that every mere utterance of a transgender person's existence is seen as annoying, pushy. Why are those transgenders complaining so much? Why are they always wanting this and that? They're offended by, the Natural Women song, which if you missed that video, basically what I talked about is that this was a false story created by a parody account that was a conservative page masquerading as an LGBT page that first appeared on a website promoting Western values. Right? It's all very clear to me, but I know that a lot of liberals, especially, are going to think I'm just kind of being alarmist for no reason. For me, when you see someone like JK Rowling, who, by the way, now is synonymous with transphobia, you almost can't even mention her name without transphobia coming up in the same conversation. You may have been able to say years ago that it wasn't very clear or obvious that, you know, she was transphobic, but transphobes certainly do believe that she's on their side, right? Transphobes certainly do believe that she is supportive of them. And JK Rowling has more than once promoted shit that makes it hard for trans people to participate in public life, which again is the concern I have, because I've seen legislation across the country getting passed or being considered that would essentially make it impossible for you to be transgender in public at all. And there's going to be people who hear what I'm saying and once again think that I'm an alarmist. And you know what? Maybe you're right. I hope you are right. I really, 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 really hope you're right. But to me, the fact that so many people just can't play a video game, something that they're not forced to do, something that is not the same as, you know, being able to breathe or being able to eat, they're acting like if they don't play this game, they're gonna die, right? And to see people choose the game over, at the bare minimum, the understanding that some of your trans friends feel like you doing this is communicating that you don't give a fuck about them. Being able to say, I get that, but I'm gonna play the game anyway. It's the clearest communication as I ever need, right? This is why I am sort of shifting away from the narrative that I need to sit here and comfortably and slowly and politely have a conversation with people about this shit. I already know what it is. I know that most people don't give a fuck. And it's not even that most people are consciously sitting around saying fuck trans people. It's more so that the transphobia isn't a turnoff to you. It's more so that the fact that JK Rowling is financially benefiting from this and then taking that money and then supporting transphobic causes, it's the fact that that doesn't alienate you the way that it alienates me, you know, someone who wants to survive, right? But whatever. Again, I am not a person who anymore believes that I need to sit around and act like I don't get it. I do get it. I know that you don't give a fuck. I get that you don't give a fuck. And the unfortunate reality is there's going to have to be a lot of physical violence that happens to transgender people, sometimes even by the hands of the government, before people will start to give a fuck, right? See, years and years ago, when it was less blatant, that should have been enough. But back then we debated about it. We said, oh, maybe it's not. Oh, maybe she just really believes in women or whatever, right? But now she's very publicly gloated about the fact that she's making money from this and the transphobia hasn't alienated her base. And here you are playing your fucking game because you really need to be a fucking wizard because you haven't grown up yet. And you know, it's what I expect. It's exactly what I expect. Now, liberals are going to say, I'm a wokey, okay? I'm a wokey. I'm, you know, pushing it here, pushing it there, whatever. And you know what? I hope you're right. I hope that all the concerns I have are completely unfounded, don't you? But I don't think I am wrong here. And that's just what I had to say about that. Enjoy.